So your style isn't necessarily something that you find, but it's more so something you develop as an extension of yourself. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Duran with DuranSupply.com, where I'll help you design smarter, not harder. And I've got a question for you. Do you know what you like? If you do, you're in luck. This video is all about finding your style, and if you're an artist or designer, chances are you've seen enough art in your life to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and generally what art inspires you, which to me means you're halfway there. So style is something a lot of people hold on sort of a pedestal, as in it's something you either got or you don't got. And it's an interesting topic because I still get questions from designers of all ranks about finding your style. Design is funny in particular because you can get away with not really having a style for quite a long time because your job as a designer isn't particularly to have a style, but just to solve a problem in a pretty manner. But having a good grasp of not only what you like to see, but also what you like to do in a design sense makes this process 1,000 times easier. And besides for that, pretty much every artist just wants to be unique and have some traits to their artwork that they're known for, which is great. You do want to separate yourself from others to an extent, but finding your style isn't very clear cut. And if you're hoping that I'm going to detail some sort of a proven process to help you find your unique touch in design, I can't promise you that much, but I can promise you that the tips I give in this video will help you find your style eventually, so long as you follow them mindfully and are dedicated to your craft. Let me start with a little story. I went to an arts high school back in 2016, mostly focused on fine arts. Great school, it's called Dash Design and Architecture Senior High. It's filled with some of the brightest minds and coolest artists that I've ever met. So obviously I'm surrounded by artists, and I'm motivated to create all the time, and I always see my peers sketching, drawing, painting, whatever, and a good chunk of them had a real nice and unique style, and it would just flow out of them. They draw, and everything they drew on that paper would have unique markings of them, their personality, and their taste, and I could never, no matter what I tried, reproduce that organically. I was obsessed with finding my style. I tried pretty much forcing any personality that I could onto the paper, but I even drew stuff I didn't even like to draw and paint stuff I didn't even like to paint, just so I could have something I could say was unique. So I was chasing the high of doing something cool and unique and in my style, even if I didn't really enjoy it. Long story short, I never found my style. I left that school in my second year and I went to a new academics-focused high school, one of the best in the nation, and I was surrounded by a ton of nerds. I loved it there, but it was quite the change of scenery. So now, coming from an esteemed art school surrounded by artists and engulfed in imposter syndrome, I'm now pretty much the only artistically inclined motherfucker in like a 5-mile radius. I have no pressure on me. I don't really care about finding my style. I'm just doing me, and I'm doing school. Now, I love the fine arts and I love drawing, but my trade was really in graphic design. I'm pretty sure I've been typing on a keyboard since before I even picked up a pencil, I swear to God. So that's what I started to do on the side for fun, keep a little creative juices flowing through me. And guess what? I loved doing it. It was and truly is my passion. And now that I'm at this point where I'm not so focused on the idea of being unique, and I'm more so just focused on doing what I like, consuming the media and art that I like, and being myself, what do you know? At this time, I start forming an actual style. Now at that time, my style was way different from what it is now, so style changes and evolves over time for a few reasons that I'll get into. But listen to this and ingrain it in your head. Once I stopped being obsessed with being unique for the sake of being unique, and stopped being obsessed with finding my style, and started just being obsessed with creating and learning, that is when I really started my career as an artist and started carving out an artistic identity for myself. Now, I want to mention that it's also way easier to do that when you've got some experience under your belt. I was already pretty proficient in Photoshop at this time, so it wasn't too hard to put my thoughts onto the canvas. So if you're a beginner watching this, I don't recommend even thinking about style and what your style could be before you learn the medium and the technology that you're working within. And that brings me to my next point. Someone's style is a function of their tool belt of techniques, their personal taste, and their limitations. To dig deeper into that, let me first show you what many people refer to as my style. What I believe defines my style is the use of halftones, Xerox grain effects, really grungy and potent textures, a limited color palette, dark or playful technological imagery, and some sort of a punchy or relevant copy to the graphic. And just for fun, so you can see how I've evolved, here's the style that I started out with. So clearly there was two things, a change of taste and a change of technique, but there was also some limitations along the way that helped me develop my style. A lot of times people's styles are defined by their technique. A unique technique gives way to a unique style. Along the way in my design journey, I stumbled upon Xerox grain, punk, rave posters, and the like. That is what I loved. That was my taste in design, and that Xerox grain effect was just so good. I had to have it. And so I learned my own way of replicating it, and eventually I added my own flair to it which I'll get into later. But that was the technique that eventually defined my style and gave way to my evolution of style later on. So that was a huge part of it, along with my personal taste, which led me to even finding that technique and guided me in my creations with it until I deviated into something more me. My style was also defined by my limitations. There were a lot of things that I could not do in a technical sense, and that kind of limited the scope of where my art would fall on the stylistic spectrum. I was limited by many things, like the kind of imagery I could or couldn't use, or my understanding of certain principles of design, which I never really fully learned. So that kind of gave way to some sort of an anti-design feel in my work sometimes. I also came from the fine arts into graphic design, which kind of gave me a unique outlook on what I was creating. I was also limited by the fact that I wanted my designs to be screen printable for t-shirts. So I didn't just like the threshold and limited color palette look, I also had to do it. So having those limitations or constraints kind of forces you to be more creative in your artistic endeavor, because you have to come up with solutions and workarounds and find different techniques for what you're trying to create. And that often leads you down a gold brick road for finding a uniqueness in your art. Something I really want to hammer down on here is your taste. What you like is pretty much entirely going to define what you create. My interests are clearly written on my sleeve when I create. I love music, specifically grunge and rock music. I love obscure, grainy aesthetics. I like grungy, heavy textures. I like computers and technology. These are all things that you can almost immediately see once you look at my artwork. So your style isn't necessarily something that you find, but it's more so something you develop as an extension of yourself. And once you bridge the gap between what you like in an artistic sense and what you could do technically, you're well on your way to developing your own unique style. Matter of fact, even if you don't have the technical prowess to create something that you like that aligns with your taste, even trying to do so and doing it wholeheartedly will leave you at a pretty nice starting point. Remember, limitations, especially technical limitations, can be a good thing when you're trying to develop your style. So I would say to embrace those. There's a great quote by John Prine, which is, if you make the same mistake enough, it eventually becomes your style. Now, I want to give you some actual materially doable steps to finding your style. I said I wasn't going to give you a proven process, but I'm going to break that promise a little bit because everything can be compartmentalized. First off, I need to mention, like I was talking about earlier, do not create with the intention of being unique. Create with the intention of creating. Do it because you love it, and the results will follow. Time is the most important thing here as well. Everything comes with time, so do not be frustrated if you're not seeing the results that you want to see, because these things take years. Here's what I recommend. Number one, go find what you like. Go consume lots and lots of media and be a sponge. Listen to music, watch movies, and do things that you love. Find art that you love, dig deep, and take it all in. Number two, make a mental note about what you like in those things. Specifically what you like in the song that you're listening to or the piece of art that you saved to your Pinterest board. Analyze. Number three, make it. Reverse engineer it. Translate it. Just be careful with this one because you don't want to copy someone and claim it as your own. You just want to copy it for the sake of practice. Don't even post it. Just do it for yourself. Create a one-to-one replica of that piece of art that you like. Or if it's not something that you could really recreate, just try to exactly pinpoint and translate the emotions that that piece of media is making you feel onto the digital canvas. Think about it. If you ever learned piano, guitar, or drums, or any instrument, the first thing you do is try to learn other people's songs. So eventually you'll start to pick up on the techniques and quirks within that piece of art and start incorporating it into your own art. But you have to remember this. This is very, very important. Number four, you have to diversify. If you reverse engineer only one style and one artist, you're going to end up copying their shit. Just look at Greta Van Fleet. They're a great, great brand technically, and I listen to them all the time, but you could tell that their only inspiration is Led Zeppelin. So great, great bands and artists copy a lot. Led Zeppelin copied a shit ton. Rush copied a lot, but they diversified and took notes from so many different artists and different inspirations that their sound and style just became a melting pot of the hundreds of different sounds that they liked. And now that's their unique style. There's actually an amazing quote from Geddy Lee of Rush, and he explains it better than I ever could. So check that out here.
A lot, what's originality? Well, originality is when you have so many influences that you can't tell them anymore. You can't see them anymore. They've all melded. And as your confidence rises in your craft, your personality steps in front of those influences, and that forms your voice.
So when your personality and your taste mix with your technical prowess and your personal creative process, your original style comes forth. So finding your artistic style is not a fixed point that you arrive at, but an evolving process that reflects your growth, experiences, and taste as an artist. When I focus solely on finding my style and being unique for the sake of being unique, I pretty much hit a brick wall of frustration and failure. But when I started creating just out of obsession for the craft, that is when I actually started to create and carve out my own artistic identity. My advice to you is love what you do embrace your personality, your limitations, and come to love the process of learning in itself. Immerse yourself in lots and lots of media, be it music, movies, arts, whatever. Learn how they do it, learn how they bring that emotion out of them and translate it into their canvas of choice, and then do it yourself. And eventually, you'll start piecing together your style from different techniques you learned along the way, different quirks you pick up on from different artists, and so on. I'll end with a quote from Sean Carlin: "Will yourself to be curious and practice the craft, spend the time and apply methodology, and the magic will conjure itself." To put that simpler, embrace the journey and let your style naturally unfold over time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you got something of value from this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I post videos like this every week to help you in your design journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.